Hello and welcome to my Hapatra Vizier of Poisons commander deck. Hapatra Vizier of Poisons is a 2-mana 2/2 legendary human cleric, which reads, whenever Hapatra Vizier of Poison deals combat damage to a player, you may put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Whenever you put one or more -1/-1 counters on a creature, create a 1/1 green snake creature token with Death Touch. I'm going to be using this commander to create a bunch of snakes and put a bunch of -1/-1 counters on everybody's creatures. The first card is Contagion Engine. Contagion Engine is a 6-mana artifact which reads, when Contagion Engine enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature target player controls. I'm going to be using this to target a player who has a lot of creatures on their board so I can get a lot of snakes. You can also use the second ability, which is pay 4 and tap it to proliferate, then proliferate again. I can use this to triple the amount of -1/-1 counters that I already put on my opponent's creatures from when it entered the battlefield. The next card is Contagion Clasp. It's a 2-mana artifact which reads, when Contagion Clasp enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. You can use Contagion Clasp to pay 4 mana and tap it to proliferate. The next card is Necroskitter. Necroskitter is a 3-mana 1/4 with Wither, and it reads, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies with a -1/-1, or whenever a creature opponent controls with a -1/-1 counter on it dies, you may return that card to the battlefield under your control. This card's super great because you can use it to steal your opponent's creatures after you kill them with -1/-1 counters. Ulvenwald Tracker's a 1-mana 1/1 where you can pay 2 and tap it to have target creature you control fight another target creature. I use this card because it abuses the fact that you're making a ton of snakes, and you can use and the snakes have Death Touch, so you can use Ulvenwald Tracker to just kind of use them to just pelt down my opponent's creatures. The next card is Wickerbow Elder. Wickerbow Elder is a 3-mana 4/4 which enters the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it. You can pay green to remove a -1/-1 counter from Wickerbow Elder to destroy target artifact or enchantment. This card's super great because this is how we're getting artifact and enchantment removal, also by getting snakes in the process. The next card is Courage in Crisis. This card, it's 3 mana for a sorcery, which puts a +1/+1 counter on target creature, then proliferate. This card's great because, it proliferates. Planewide Celebration is a 7-mana sorcery, but you choose 4 modes, and you can choose the same mode more than once. One of the choices is proliferate, so it's basically saying 7 mana for proliferating 4 times in a row. This card's super great because you get to make an army of snakes, and this is one of the main win conditions because you just get so many snakes. Grim Affliction is a 3-mana instant which reads, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature, then proliferate. The next card is Evolution Sage, which is a 3/2 elf druid for 3, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, proliferate. Plaguemaw Beast is a 5-mana 4/3 where you can tap it and sacrifice a creature to proliferate. Of course, you just sacrifice a snake. The next card is Parallel Lives. It's a 4-mana enchantment, and it reads, if an effect would put 1 or more tokens onto the battlefield under your control, it puts twice that many of those tokens onto the battlefield instead. This card is probably one of the best cards in the deck because you get to double the amount of snakes that you make. The next card is Doubling Season, which is a 5-mana enchantment that reads, if an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many tokens instead. So it's exactly like Parallel Lives, but it has an extra ability that's so good. It also reads, if an effect will put 1 or more counters on a permanent you control, it puts twice that many of those counters on that permanent instead. So this is great because you can target some of your stuff if you would like to put -1/-1 counters on it, and you just get to create so many snakes. The next card is Triumph of the Hordes. Triumph of the Hordes is a 4-mana sorcery, and it reads, until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1, gain trample, and infect. So say you had 10 snakes and your opponent only had 2 creatures, then they'd still die from infect because you have so many snakes and only a little bit of if they only have a couple of creatures, then chances are you're going to kill them. Not to mention you have a lot of Proliferate in the deck, so you can use that to finish them off as well. The next card is Beastmaster's Ascension, which is a 3-mana enchantment, which reads, whenever a creature you control attacks, you may put a quest counter on Beastmaster Ascension. And it also reads, as long as Beastmaster Ascension has 7 or more quest counters on it, creatures you control get +5/+5. This card is incredible in the deck, and it makes your snakes 6/6s, which is huge. The next card is Craterhoof Behemoth. It's an 8-mana 5/5 with haste, and it reads, when Craterhoof Behemoth enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So say you had 10 snakes, they'd all get +10/+10 until end of turn. Or sorry, well, you also get a Craterhoof Behemoth, so 11 +1/+1 until end of turn. The next card is Yawgmoth Thran Physician, which is a 4-mana legendary human cleric. That's a 2/4, and it has protection from humans. You can pay 1 life, sack a creature, and put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature and draw a card. So you can use this because you're basically paying a life to draw a card. And you can also just shoot down all your opponent's creatures, sorry. You can also pay 2 black, discard a card, and proliferate. Blood Artist is a 2-mana 0/1 vampire, which reads, when Blood Artist or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So this is kind of like the Aristocrat part of the deck, so it just helps so much. Obelisk Spider is a 3-mana spider with reach, and it reads, when Obelisk Spider deals combat damage to a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, and whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. The next card is Zulaport Cutthroat. This is a 2-mana 1/1 human rogue ally, which reads, when Zulaport Cutthroat or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. The next card is Flourishing Defenses. Flourishing Defenses is a 5-mana enchantment, which reads, whenever a -1/-1 counter is placed on a creature, you may put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature into play. So this basically means whenever you get a snake, you also get an elf, which is incredible. The next card is Blowfly Infestation, which is a 3-mana enchantment, which reads, whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, if it had a -1/-1 counter on it, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. You can use this to just get so many more -1/-1 counters, and it's just unbelievably powerful. The next card is Nest of Scarabs. This is kind of similar to Flourishing Defenses, it's a 3-mana enchantment that says whenever you put 1 or more -1/-1 counters on a creature, create that many 1/1 black insect creature tokens. The next card is Midnight Banshee, which is a 6-mana 5/5 with Wither, and it reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, put a -1/-1 counter on each non-black creature. This card is so good because, you are killing all your snakes, but you're also creating a whole new army of them. And probably a lot more because it's for each non-black creature, not just each non-black creature you control. So this card's super great. The next card is Carnifex Demon, which is a 6-mana 6/6 demon with flying, and it reads, Carnifex Demon enters the battlefield with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. You can pay black and remove a -1/-1 counter from Carnifex Demon to put a -1/-1 counter on each other creature. This card's great because you can just it's very similar to Midnight Banshee because you're going to kill all your snakes, but you're also going to create a whole new army of them. The next card is Harbinger of Night, which is a 4-mana spirit that's a 2/3, and it reads, during your upkeep, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature. You can use this card you could just put -1/-1 counters on everything, just like Carnifex Demon and Midnight Banshee, create a whole new army. The next card is Black Sun Zenith. It's X black for a sorcery, and it's put X plus -1/-1 counters on each creature. Shuffle Black Sun Zenith into its owner's library. You can use this just like all the last 3 cards that I have explained. The next card is Devoted Druid. This is one of the ramp cards in the deck, which is 2 mana for an 0/2, and you can tap it to add green. You can also put a -1/-1 counter on Devoted Druid to untap it. The next card is Cryptolith Rite, which is a 2-mana enchantment that reads, creatures you control have tapped to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. This is basically saying you can tap your snakes to add mana. That's really what it's saying. So Cultivate is a 3-mana sorcery which reads, search your library for 2 basic land cards, put one of them into the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle your library. So I just put Cultivate, but that also means that you could put things like Rampant Growth and Explosive Vegetation into the deck. I just didn't put those because those are basically staples. So the next card is Chandler Initiate, which is a 2-mana 3/4, which reads, when Chandler Initiate enters the battlefield, put 3 -1/-1 counters on a creature you control. You can tap it to remove a -1/-1 counter from Chandler Initiate to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. All 3 of the next cards are just mana rocks. So we have Soul Ring, Golgari Signet, and Talisman. I think you guys all know what those are, but Soul Ring, you can tap it to add 2 mana for 1, and then Golgari Signet's 2 to basically add 1 green or black to your mana pool because you have to pay 1 into it to activate it. Talisman's 2 mana to tap it for colorless, or you can tap it for black or green, and it deals 1 damage to you. The next card is Commander's Sphere, which is 3 mana, which is a 3-mana artifact, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color in your commander color's identity. So you can use this to tap for green or black in this case. You can also sacrifice Commander's Sphere to draw a card. The next card is Arcane Signet, which is 2 mana to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Heraldic Banner is a 3-mana artifact, and it reads, as Heraldic's Banner enters the battlefield, choose a color. Creatures of the chosen color get +1/+0, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of the chosen color. Karn's Bastion is a land, and you can tap it to add colorless, or you could pay 4 and tap it to proliferate. You can also use the next card's Phyrexian Tower, which you can tap it to add colorless, or tap it to sacrifice a creature and add 2 black mana. The next card is Gaia's Cradle, which is a legendary land that you tap it and add green to your mana pool for each creature you control. This card generates so much mana, but sadly it's a very expensive card to have in real life, but that's alright. So that brings us to the end of the episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.